and welcome back to Anywhere But Here, episode 302. My name is Tom.
And my name's Ant.
And you can find us at abhpod.com, where if you scroll down a little bit through the first couple of episodes there, you'll come across an Amazon banner. If you click onto that Amazon banner, go to amazon.co.uk and do your shopping as you usually would for all of your things, because the supermarkets don't have anything in them, because we're living in the apocalypse. Then we get 5% of your total basket spend at the end. No extra cost. You don't pay any more when you're using Amazon. But yeah, we just take 5% of the total that will go into Jeff Bezos's dick-shaped rockets.
Yeah, and if you want to support us in another way and not fund Jeff Bezos's phallus-shaped space vehicle, transportation vehicle, I don't know where I'm going with this. You can support us on Patreon on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. Right by the Amazon banner, it's there. You can just donate. I think it's £1 or $1 or €1 or I don't know what it is. It's a single unit of your currency plus taxes. I think they tack onto it as well, so it's not actually only £1. It's not one. It's one whatever their percentage is. Either way, for that you get these episodes without the intro, which is I think the most important thing based on this one. You get video versions of this, which is just for our patrons. I didn't do last week's because it didn't upload in time before I went on holiday. You get After the Podcast, which are exclusive to Patreon as well. All of the audio content, you get a special link, an RSS feed link. You put that in your podcast app and you get the album artwork with the gold thumb, so you know it's that feed, so you don't have to go looking for it. It's just there for you with all the bonus content. It's really cool, actually, really useful and handy. And I think that's it.
And to get in touch with us, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at ABHpod, on facebook.com/ABHpod, and also on youtube.com/ABHpodcast.
Yeah, and you can always do it the old-fashioned way. No, I don't mean pen and paper. You can email us, abhpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, I'm not giving you my address.
No. And PO boxes are expensive.
On this episode, we talk a bit about things, what we've been doing, bearing in mind it's only been 2 weeks since last time. We've both been up to things.
Yeah, quite a lot, actually. Getting back to a bit of normalcy. But, I mean, also we get quite ranty on this one with current events. It's quite a ranty one. If you enjoy them, then it's great. If not, then sorry.
Yeah, it you got a little bit of a smidge of it at the beginning of this intro. Actually, it's kind of held over from the end of the podcast. But first. Who the hell are you? What's happened to my pale-skinned companion?
I mean, the light, to be fair. Like, I always look a bit... But no, definitely tanned.
I don't think it's just the light.
No. It's not just the light.
I saw pictures of you on holiday where you looked like you were probably from Turkey or something.
Yeah. We've never been away in August before. So it's never been that warm for us. Because it was very warm.
Yeah.
And I didn't spend a lot of time in the sun, to be fair. Like I'm the dad that's got the hat and the sunglasses sitting under the shade with the Kindle, with the book.
Right.
Yeah, that's me on holiday. But obviously being August, being sort of like in the 30s Celsius, you get tanned wherever you are. But yeah, there was a lot of like, this is too hot, I need to get in the pool sort of thing. And I don't care how cold that pool feels, I'm jumping straight in. Yeah, it was lovely. But yeah, I was ready to come home by the end of it.
Right.
It's just one of those. And I think it's a case of, because we haven't been on holiday for however long, like abroad, because of this whole COVID thing. I don't know if you're aware of it. We don't mention it every fucking episode. But yeah, because we haven't been away.
Every other podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the news and just people.
Yeah. It's almost as if it's a plague or something.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been away for so long. By like sort of day 6 or no, maybe 7, because we only went for 10 days. And maybe it's the knowledge that on day 8, 9, day 9, the day before we come home, we've got to do our tests. We've got to fill out all of our paperwork, and yeah, so you're sort of like, yeah, no, I'm ready to go now. I've had enough.
Sort out the paperwork.
Yeah. Plus we had Liz's mum with us, which it's not a mother-in-law joke, because we had Liz's mum. Do you know what I mean? Where
My mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law. Because she's disabled at the minute, using a wheelchair, waiting on a knee operation.
Right.
We couldn't really go many places, so it was a lot of just sitting around the pool. Yeah. And it was all inclusive. So it was eating at the restaurants in there and going to the shoddy entertainment there. But no, it's absolutely lovely. Well needed. Really, really surprised at how smooth pretty much everything was. The only issue was when we got to Mallorca, Palma Airport, and it was kind of like going to the health check thing where they got to check your vaccination status. They need evidence of your sort of fit to fly sort of ish, and it was just like congregating in this one corridor, like thousands of people just congregating in one corridor, and you're like, this is where you're doing the health checks for COVID. You're cramming us all in a corridor. Doesn't seem right, but it's one of those things. It seems a bit odd, but at the same time, you're assuming everyone's provided a negative test or has double vaccination, and everyone's wearing masks. So you're like, actually pretty confident it's safe.
Yeah.
Because of the stringent conditions. Because this is, when you fly out to Spain, you need to fill in the forms for Spain. Yeah. So you're following their rules. When you come home, you need to fill in the forms for the UK, following our rules. But yeah, it was pretty well organised, actually. That jammed in the corridor, that was the only time I felt sort of anxious. At the hotel, you can't go in any restaurant, in any shop without a mask.
Yeah. Like,
you have to be wearing a mask. And occasionally I'd get up from a table forgetting I've got the mask around my chin, and they're like, can you put your mask? Like, everyone's like hot on it. So it's really good, really well needed.
I feel like that's the way that things should still be here. As well, but it was different when we did pop into the local town, and it was different there. Like, the shopkeepers didn't have masks and stuff like that. And it was just because it's the hotel, because you've got people coming in from all over the world. They're a bit hotter on it, but we still wore a mask and stuff, and we went into a bar for a drink because it was just fucking far too hot. Yeah. It was just like the first post I put up on Facebook was, it's too hot. Like 8 o'clock in the morning, it was like 28 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, I remember going to Tunisia years and years ago, and it being just like upwards of like 38 degrees every day.
That's bonkers.
And you're like, there's literally nothing you can do. We did kind of go out in the evenings. But yeah, I came back literally the darkest I've ever been. And I even got freckles appear on my nose for the first time since I was a child.
I always get freckles.
It's never happened ever again. And it's just, obviously a reaction to extreme heat, I guess. You know?
Yeah. And it does, and it's so weird that it doesn't happen anymore. But I know the first time I ever went to Spain, I mean, to be fair, I was only like 15, so I think it was like 15, 16 years ago, whatever. It's quite a while ago now. Almost 20 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
I made that mistake as well.
But in the grand scheme of things, that's not that long. But if you think of the age of the universe, 15 years isn't that long. But, you know what I mean? And I remember, like, the first time I ever went to Spain, it was like, they still did, like, you still had a siesta. Like, you couldn't go to the shops between sort of midday and 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They were still doing siestas, but they don't do that anymore.
Really?
Not that, no. I mean, everything was still running and open, and it's just, that's why, because it's too hot to do anything.
Yeah.
Like you're
like
supposed
everyone went home for a couple of hours in the middle of the day.
had a nap because it's too
shelter.
hot. Yeah. So yeah, it's just bizarre that they don't seem to do it as well. I mean, they probably do it in like the remote towns and stuff, but like in the touristy towns, definitely not a thing anymore, as far as I could tell. But yeah, it's just, I mean, everywhere in the hotel is, to be fair, is air conditioned. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just bizarre because like Spain, when you go to Spain, it's weird because they used to do the siesta and then everything would stay open till like 10, 11 o'clock at night, like all the shops and stuff to make up for that lost time. Yeah. So it used to be a society based around sort of late night sort of community stuff, isn't it? That's where you get around and you're chatting. But they still do that without the siestas.
Just sounds like Western ways of doing things have seeped in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you know, you and I have had these conversations about burnout.
Yeah.
But that surely will lead to it at some point, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed when I was out there as well, you get it at all sort of like resort hotels that the entertainment staff who will be entertaining your kids at like 8 o'clock in the morning are also the ones who will be doing the entertainment until sort of 10 o'clock at night in the club.
Yeah.
But they'll also be doing entertainment throughout the day.
Yeah.
And they just work so much.
Yeah.
But they seem to be loving it. And even the hotel staff, like I noticed a couple of the staff members would be in one restaurant in the morning, then they'd be in the other restaurant at dinner time. But like breakfast starts at 8:30 and then dinner finishes at like 10 o'clock at night. And you're like, and they're still just working and they don't stop.
You kind of hope they've got split shifts going on.
Yeah, you really do. They just don't stop at all. I was going to say something else, but I forget what it was now. It's fine. Sorry, but the late night sort of gathering stuff. I remember when we went to Alicante a couple of years ago. Like Liz's mum's got a friend who has an apartment out there, so we rented the apartment, and it's not mega touristy. It's a lot of locals, and we went out for dinner one night, and we sort of walking back, sort of 9:30, and we heard music, live music. We're like, "Where's that?" So we went and found this bar where there was a live band playing outside. Like adjacent to the beach, and like they were playing at one bar, but then all the bars around sort of had people sat outside watching the entertainment. So just sat down, had a drink and watched this band. They were absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. Sort of playing like classic rock songs and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just that whole, and this isn't a touristy town, so it's just like that's what they do. People go out in the evening. Like, and it was like midweek sort of thing.
Yeah, it wasn't.
People go out sort of like 9, 10 o'clock at night to watch live music. Such a good way of life.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know I've been to a few places like that in my time as well. Austin being the most obvious one. But yeah, it's like culturally normal for people to all go out and sit in piazzas and squares and stuff, you know. Yeah. But it was relaxing.
Oh, for sure. I think I got like 2 or 3 books read while I was out there. I mean, I had to take my because I've got an essay due the week after. I think it is now actually. So I needed to keep up with my studying. Yeah, week after Wednesday the 8th. So I had to keep up with my studying. So. What I found that what I'll do is I'd go do a bit of sunbathing and whatever in the morning, sitting outside, just reading, listening to music or whatever. Go and have lunch. And then I'd say, well, because now it's the hottest part of the day, I'll go sit in the apartment and do a bit of studying. But I wouldn't. I'd end up just falling asleep.
Sleeping. Yeah.
Sort of, oh, God, I can't stay awake while I'm studying. They're just napping. Yeah. But yeah, I managed to keep up with it. I think that was only like the first couple of days because I was still a bit catching up with sleep because we do like the early morning flights just because it's less stressful, I find.
God, yeah.
Except when for some reason your gate closes early when you're on your way to the gate with a wheelchair and then they're like, man, you're late, they closed the gate already. Like, what do you mean? They've only just sort of started calling it. Like, yeah. Almost missed a flight.
Brilliant. There's nothing like that kind of last minute panic.
Yeah. The main issue was as well, because we got to the gate and they're like, "Did you check the wheelchair?" We're like, "No, we weren't told we had to." Or we were told. Sorry, it's not we weren't told we had to. We were told we didn't need to.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We did EasyJet have the auto baggage thing now. You do it yourself, the self checkout of which is great. But then we walked round to the assistant's desk and we said, "Do we need to check this?" And they're like, "No, that's fine. Just go."
Right.
Like they literally told us we didn't have to check the chair.
Yep.
But we did. Apparently. Yeah. Luckily, at the gate they had they could put a label on it for us. But Spain, completely different. We were doing our check-in. He goes, "And you need to go around there and check the wheelchair." Like
we know now.
Yeah, cheers, brilliant. But yeah, they couldn't do enough to help us in Spain. They actually escorted us all the way to the gate.
Right.
Like brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. But then when we did land at Gatwick, a guy did escort us from the gate to luggage check, like a baggage claim. Like he was really nice. But yeah, it was just the stress of getting out there. Yeah, very well needed, very needed. But it's just weird. And so throughout this whole pandemic, we've had sort of like event after event cancelled or moved. So we've had like 2 or 3 concerts moved. We've had 2 or 3 shows moved.
Yeah. We
got back on the Tuesday. Flew back on a Tuesday. And then Wednesday evening, we had a show that we went to. And then Thursday, we didn't do anything, I think. And then Friday was Liz's birthday. I need to double check my dates, actually. Yeah, Friday was Liz's birthday. But she wasn't feeling well. We were supposed to go to her mum's. No, Thursday was her birthday. Wednesday was the show. Thursday was the birthday. We were supposed to go to her mum's for dinner. We didn't because she didn't feel well. So Friday, we had nothing. Oh, no, Friday, we went for a barbecue at a friend's.
Right.
And then last night we went to a concert because everything got moved. Yeah, so it's just like you're doing something. And then we've also got a concert like in a couple of weeks, but for the same band that we saw last night, which is McFly
everything's been pushed back.
But it's all been pushed back to this week.
Yeah. September is the the month where things are being placed. Everything that was cancelled over the last year and a half is happening in September by the seams of things. Yeah. So it was McFly last night and McFly next week as well.
No, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, yesterday's one was at Newmarket Racecourse, so it was a day event of racing and music. We didn't go for the racing because it's not something we necessarily agree with or like. So we didn't do that, although technically we still supported it because we gave them our money. But yeah, we went to the concert. I think was it our first live music thing? Yeah, I think it's our first concert. We've seen another show, but it was our first concert. It was really good. Like they're a solid band. Like regardless of whether you like their music or not, they are solid. Really good fun. I posted a video. Like there's a guy. He managed to get up onto one of the towers of one of the stands and was sort of dancing. It was great. It was funny. But it was just such a bizarre venue. I don't know if you've ever been to a race course for a gig.
No.
It's weird. Like the stage is between 2 of the grandstands.
Right.
It's set up between 2 of the grandstands, which is odd. Anyway, but there's lots of people dressed up for like race day. So there's like women with big hats and fascinators and guys in suits or boat shoes and things like that. And you're surrounded by like middle class people, but they're not all of them.
No, because people from like just regular betting shops go there and dress up for the day as well. Like proper chavvy arseholes.
For sure. And there's people smoking cigars around us. People with like glasses of Pimm's.
Yeah. It's where everyone gets to dress up and pretend they're posh. That's
bottles of champagne and stuff. It's so weird.
It's like going to Wimbledon as well. Like, I'll sit on Henman Hill because I don't have enough money to actually get a ticket into Centre Court, but I'll sit on the hill and eat
with strawberries and champagne.
Yeah.
But then there's also like us lot in our jeans and t-shirt and like McFly hoodie. Like there was a few people like that scattered about as well, and you're like, this is so weird. It's really weird.
Who else was on?
It was literally it was just McFly. So it's racing and then McFly. So I think they started sort of like 6:30 and then went till what time did they finish? About 8, 7:45.
Yes, it was like about 4:45.
Yeah, so it's only like an hour and a half sort of thing because it was a day thing, which we didn't realise at first. But we had to drive to Newmarket, which ended up taking about 2 hours.
Right.
Because we were going there about sort of like 4:30, 5 o'clock on a Saturday. So, yeah, it took about 2 hours to get there. It only took about an hour and 40 to get home. Well, with the stop at McDonald's. So about 2 hours there as well.
Obligatory.
Of course. Has to be done. But yeah, it was like 2 hours to get there, an hour and a half show, and then 2 hours to get back.
Yeah. Yeah, you often think... Like, we went down to Hastings for the day on Friday. Joe had seen that there was this true crime museum down there, and so that was what she wanted to go and do.
I've seen that a few times, but it's like a Hastings true crime museum.
Yeah, mate, it was fucking dog shit.
Yeah.
I'm not into that kind of thing anyway. Like, the place gave me the fucking heebie-jeebies.
It's
like, they
a
had
weird
like a
thing to
make a museum about,
glamorize or romanticize, isn't it?
It was like weapons that had been used in crimes, and like there was a genuine deathbed from America in there, and like I don't. And she knows so much about like serial killers and shit because she watches all these shows anyway, that like she didn't really learn anything. I think we were in there for about half an hour, and I was just like, right, we're not going home. After we've driven down here, it's taken an hour and a half to get here. We've been in there half an hour. I've put 3 hours on the fucking parking. We're going to have to take a walk along the beach. We're going to have ice cream. But yeah, even that, you know, we were down there for 3 hours, but it took
3 hours.
3 hours, And you're like, oh, this really isn't the one, is it? Like...
Well, that's it. I mean, I didn't know where we were seeing McFly until we were on holiday. It was like last week before we come home. It's like, it's at Newmarket, and I was like, where's that? Looked up on my phone and went, fucking Cambridge. And then like, what was it? It was like a couple of days ago. She's like, oh, I've just looked and it looks like it's only going to be an hour. And I went, what? The fuck?
This is what happened to me when I was like, right, Rage Against the Machine are reforming and they're only playing at Tea in the Park this year. I went to buy tickets and then was like, where is Tea in the Park? Oh, Kinross in Scotland.
Yeah.
Great. How the fuck am I going to get there?
Yeah. But I mean, it was worth it. It was a really good day. Like, we had a proper laugh, just because of how bizarre everything was. It was, I've mentioned the man on the thing. But like, there was a bit where like one of the guitarists, basically a bird shat on his head. They want to sing. It was funny. Like, he had a proper laugh about it. He's not being shat on by a bird. The bassist sort of like went over to the side of the stage, and I sort of looked over, like, what the fuck's going on there? He had his foot up on the side, and so the grandstands either side of the stage had people on as well. Like, they would have had a shit view, but they would have been close. But it was good because the guys were playing up to them. Yeah, right. But like, he was over and he had his foot propped up on something, and I looked and there was like an old lady tying up his shoe because his shoe had come undone. It was just, you know, is that interaction with the crowd? It was just, it was just a real proper laugh. But like, there was a drunk woman sort of pushing through, and then like, one of Liz's colleagues who came with us, this woman bumped into her and she was like, oh, you're back. And this woman had they were selling champagne, but in plastic bags.
Okay.
Not even plastic. It's like a polythene.
Like an IV drip?
No. So you had a bottle of champagne, but it was in like a gift bag, but it's like a plasticky rubber.
I get what you mean. Yeah,
plasticky rubber sort of gift bag, but it had like loads of little plastic cups, like little plastic cups in the bag as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like a gift set sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
So she pushed her, she went, oh, you're back, are you? Because she'd obviously pushed past her on the way out. And then when we went, just champagne, sort of like offering her a glass. Like, no, what the fuck is going on? It's just
like you say, it's a real clash of people.
Yeah, a real weird. Yeah, and you see these guys. after 2 songs, obviously like, oh, this isn't for me. Sort of pushing back through the back of the crowd with their tweed sort of waistcoats on and stuff. It's really weird, but good. We enjoyed it. It was great fun. We went to see Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, or as Chloe likes to call it, Joseph and his gay coat. His gay pride coat. She was convinced it was about gay pride. But I mean, it wasn't the least camp thing we've ever seen, gonna be honest with you. But I'd never seen it, never really listened to the soundtrack, didn't really know what to expect. I knew the story of Joseph, and but it was brilliant. It was so, it wasn't even weird, it was just really good. It just wasn't what I was expecting. It was a lot funnier than I thought it was. Bearing in mind it's a story about a boy whose brothers sold him into slavery, but it was funny.
Well, I suppose, there's a reason it's been on constantly since the late 80s or early 90s.
I think it's not a permanently running show now, I don't think. I think it's like a touring thing, and they do like a new production every year. It's at the Palladium, which I don't think the Palladium ever really has any permanent shows at all. Because we went last time we went, it was Cats. So I think it's ones that Andrew Lloyd Webber, because it's an Andrew Lloyd Webber theatre, and I think it's one that he uses for his shows that aren't running anymore. Yeah, and he puts them on every so often.
Rotation or something.
Yes, but I mean, there's touring editions of it, but this one had like Alexandra Burke was the narrator, who not really a fan of hers, but she was fantastic. Like the narrator sort of carries the show. It's like the through piece. She's sort of telling the story, and obviously because that's what narrators do. But she also plays characters in the story. Like she morphs into, and she's just constantly working. I think there's like maybe 5 minutes where she's not on the stage. Right. Like she's always there. Jason Donovan played the Pharaoh, which is the reason we got tickets, because Liz wanted to see Jason Donovan. He does one song and that's it.
Right, yeah, of course, because he used to play Joseph, didn't he?
He has played Joseph, but it was, it's such a good show. It's not what you expect at all. Okay. But it's really camp. It's proper musical. Yeah. But it's fun.
Well, it's in the old tradition of musicals, which is proper camp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas these days they're slightly more appealing,
a bit more
to
serious,
various,
I don't know if I consider Miss Saigon.
Maybe not. I don't know.
No, I don't really know much about it, but I can't imagine that would be camp. But yeah, it is more traditional, because you got like the old shows like Phantom of the Opera, which is a proper serious show, Les Miserables, which is a proper serious show. But then it's like, because obviously Joseph is a Bible story, but you don't want to sell it as a Bible story, as like a religious show. So how do you make people interested in it? You camp it up. Yeah. There's like, there's parts of it that may be culturally insensitive. I think they've toned them down a hell of a lot now. Right. They do the proper like Egyptian dancing and stuff. They do like the Bollywood dance, because parts of the show they use different musical styles throughout. Right. Like the Pharaoh, who is the king, it's done like an Elvis, like the Pharaoh is sort of imitates Elvis, sort of thing. It's that sort of really silly panto-y stuff, which does not appeal to everyone, but it's not what I was expecting at all. I loved it. I really did.
Fair play.
But yeah, so it's been a bit full on since we got back.
Yeah, well, it was when Liz texted me about whether or not we were doing this last night. I was like, well, she fell asleep in the car.
She did.
Between messages.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's to be expected. You are kind of living the life these days.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're like living the last sort of year and a half
in a
compressed
week and a half.
Yeah, because we were driving home. I was like, oh, do you want to text? Can you text Tom for us just to make sure? Because I did remember as I was driving just to double check, but I didn't want to wait until I got home because then it would have been far too late. So I was like, can you text Tom quickly just to double check he's on for tomorrow? Because we hadn't really spoken since I've been back. So it was like, yeah, can you just make sure, please? And she did. And then she fell asleep. So, okay, cool. But yeah.
I was up watching a film last night until about midnight anyway. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Anything good?
Rebecca.
The new one?
The original.
Oh, okay.
Because I've never seen it or read the book.
No, I haven't. I think I've got it, but I've not watched it.
It was riveting.
Really? It is good.
Really, really, I was having this conversation last night. I also did the last of my U2 episodes with Permanent Record Podcast.
Yeah, I saw you tweet about that. It was the Joshua... Is it Joshua Tree?
Joshua Tree, yeah. We've spent something like 7 hours talking about this album over 4 episodes.
It's longer than the album.
Yeah, way longer. You could play the album about
7 times.
6.5 times. Yeah. We were kind of talking about this last night, like things that are held up as iconic are that way for a reason.
Yes.
Whether or not you engage with them at the time, or whether or not you think they're a bit crap or whatever, whether or not it's your bag. Like,
yeah,
they are just great pieces of work, and Rebecca is definitely one of those. It didn't go where I thought it was going to go.
Oh, okay.
Which was interesting.
I like that sort of thing.
Yeah, but in a really interesting and good way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I imagine that came about because of the Joshua Tree being held up as this iconic record. Which, not a fan of you who don't listen to that album a lot, but if one of those songs comes on, I'm like, I love this song. Like, it's just
like the first 4 songs are the 3 singles and Bullet the Blue Sky, and that was all I used to listen to, and I didn't really listen to the rest of the album because it all sounded a bit, it was so front loaded. That like it was almost like all the fillers at the end, but actually when you kind of look into the meaning behind some of the songs and the things that they're talking about, some of the issues and stuff, it's a properly political, angry record, and like has stuff to say about US foreign policy and atrocities in South America and things like that.
And that's the thing. It's like, yes, those songs might not be replayable. They might not be the hits as such, but the message that they carry is why the album's so important.
Yeah,
I imagine you had this conversation many times over 7 hours.
Yeah. But the thing was, like, we were doing the last 2 songs last night, and then roundup of the album as a whole. The last 2 songs, one of them is written from the state of mind of a serial killer, and then the last song on the album is about 2 groups of South American women who all had their children taken from them by various governments because they were opposed to that government at the time. Like, their children were taken away and murdered. And we're having these really heavy conversations, and 3 times during that conversation the ice cream truck turned up outside my house. Ding 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 ding, and you were like, and then towards the end a candle burnt out upstairs and the fire alarm went off. So it was like, it wasn't planes yesterday, it was alarms and bells. And like, really bizarre. But enjoyable.
Quite an epic.
I mean, every episode is well over an hour, and most are over 2 hours. So it's I'm going to stitch them all together and stick them out on band biographies, I think. Just as a kind of cross-pollination tool. See what happens, because no one wants to listen to no one's got the time to listen to a 7-hour podcast all in one go. So it's just like, well, we'll it's cut up into smaller segments over on theirs, so go and listen to it there instead of here.
Yes,
it's the idea.
That'll work. And obviously, being that your podcast feed is documentary, so anyone that can listen to it for 7 hours, do it here.
Probably will. If
not, do it there. It's a good thing about the podcast apps these days that they actually hold your position where you've stopped listening.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can come back to it if you want. Oh, God, sorry.
So yeah, and then last weekend was my first gigs for 17 months as well. Like both the covers band and Swamp Stomper played at Ian's. Well, Farewell do actually. The drummer and his wife are now off on their travels.
Oh, they are now. Oh, wow.
Around the country. And then played in the Alexandra down opposite the train station in Chatham. You know, the little one on the roundabout.
Yes.
Just up from the Tap and Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah. Played there. And that was obviously like Ian's was outside in the garden. Everyone was spread out, and you know it felt all right. But inside a very small pub, like literally playing in the corner in a horseshoe-shaped bar, you know, and it was just everyone was packed in. It was a bit like, but went really well. And did a PCR test as well, a lateral flow test, sorry, and haven't caught anything. So you know, but it just feels a bit like that. It's like I've been around people. That's weird. I should check myself out now. Yeah,
I'm dirty.
Yeah. Like, and maybe I saw one person wearing a mask in there. You know, it's just like.
Yeah, I mean at McFly last night, I saw like 2 people with masks on. Everyone else just no mask. Like it's difficult. It's one of those things that's going to happen more and more and more now. You know, I went into a supermarket like the last couple of days, and it's like wearing a mask is your choice, but please do. And it's like
that's not really a rule, is it?
No. Yeah, it's one of, and the staff don't all have to wear masks either. Like some of them do, some of them don't. It's life now. It's just something we've got to sort of
figure out for ourselves. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when you see, interestingly, I was going to say, when you see, I don't know if you saw that news article about the US veteran who died of a treatable condition because he couldn't get a bed because of people with COVID in the States.
Oh, right. No.
Like, yeah, he had gallstones.
Oh, so nothing really majorly life-threatening.
Completely treatable. But he went to a hospital that did he go to the doctors or emergency room? But they didn't have the facilities there to treat him. Yeah. So they called the local sister hospital or whatever, who did have those facilities, and they're like, no, sorry, we don't have any beds. We can't help. You know, we're overrun with COVID patients. And they're like, okay, cool. So then they've called another one in the same town or the same city, and like, no, sorry, no beds because of COVID patients. So then they and then this doctor like put the call out on social media, because obviously he's going to have doctor friends, like Facebook, like, can anyone take him? And then he got one who was like several states away saying, we've got a bed. And he's like, well, that's not good enough. He's not going to get there in time. Yeah. And then they put the call out. And then another one of the local ones in the city was like, yeah, actually, we do have facilities. So as they're getting him ready, the guy phoned back and was like, oh, actually, no, sorry, we can't now because, you know, we had an influx of COVID patients. And the guy ended up dying. And this doctor had to say, yeah, we know you've got this like really easily treatable condition, but sorry, mate, you're going to die.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We can't help you. Fucking gallstones. Like,
yeah. Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, there's been, you know, loads and loads of what they call
selfish
excess deaths.
Yeah,
isn't it? I'm trying to find the data on the UK now, but deaths at home increased by 1/3 in 2020, while deaths in hospital fell except for COVID-19. Yeah, that's because everyone was at home not being able to be in the beds
because they couldn't get to hospital.
Yeah,
it's and this is what people don't understand. It's so annoying.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's so
I'm
annoying.
Going through the same thing at the moment.
It's like you have the vaccine, so you don't need to use the hospital. Now, one of Liz's friends, acquaintances, someone we know who's on our Facebook group, Liz messaged her the other day She's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. She didn't believe in face masks. She doesn't believe in the COVID thing. She thinks it's this big. She's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. Yeah.
She got bronchitis. Had to go to hospital.
Right.
While she was in hospital, she contracted COVID. Ended up having to stay in hospital for longer because she wasn't vaccinated. Used up NHS's times and resources because she hadn't been vaccinated.
Yeah. And this is the thing, isn't it? Like,
what? Like, we don't worry, we did laugh. Because it's ironic, isn't it?
And I was like, well, I shouldn't be really.
No, it's not nice for somebody to get it, but it's kind of like, huh, weird, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. One of my regular guy that I talk about, who's an anti-vaxxer, I've spoken about him a few times now. He, again, lives in Australia, so hasn't quite seen it to the extent we have. Understandable, blah, 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 blah. But he put up a post the other day about all these life insurance companies who are now not offering new life insurance policies.
Right.
And he goes, this is weird. Why are they doing this all of a sudden? You sort of like, it's an industry where they basically rake in money. They only have to pay out when people die. Why have they now suddenly stopped taking life insurance new policies on?
Yeah.
And I wanted to comment and be like, because people are dying.
Yeah.
If you're a business that pays out when people die, why would you want to sell this product that is going to cause you to pay out when people die, when people are dying in greater numbers? It makes sense for them to put a hold on giving policies out during a pandemic. One of his friends on Facebook, I should have commented, because one of his friends on Facebook commented saying, well, it's a bit of a coincidence that they're it's a bit of a coincidence that they're now stopping selling a product that pays out when people die as they're making the vaccine mandatory, isn't it? Insinuating that more people are going to die because of the vaccine, so now they're stopping. Yeah.
Whereas actually what it is that the vaccine is stopping people from dying, hopefully, and therefore...
and it's like, what it actually is
this
because now COVID is making its way to Australia and it's becoming an issue in Australia, and now they're stopping selling it. Because there's more instances of COVID in Australia. Yeah, it's got fuck all to do with the vaccine. Well, no, it is all to do with the vaccine. If you fucking took the vaccine, they'd still sell the product.
Yeah.
But they look at it. But they look at it the same way as us, and they're looking at the same thing. And
it's confirmation bias, isn't it? Like, that's all it is. It's like what you want to believe. Because the problem in this country is like,
we may be the dickheads, and it may be that the vaccine is killing people. Who knows?
Who fucking knows? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, science knows.
I've got members of my family, not many, one or two, who are belligerently not getting it, and you're like, why? Oh, because we don't know what's in it. Do you know what's in the polio vaccine?
Yeah.
What's in that?
What's in your beer?
What's in the MMR vaccine? What's in your beer? What's in the water?
Yeah.
You can't. That's not an argument not to get something that's gonna protect you from dying of a thing that is. It's possible it will kill you because it affects people in different ways. And then the other thing is, blood clots happen in some people, and it's like probably 0.1. I think it's like it's a fraction of a percentage of people that take it. And generally speaking, there are underlying issues there anyway. Yeah, and it is, that is a legitimate worry. The AstraZeneca vaccine does cause blood clots. But the people I'm talking about will be on the Pfizer anyway.
But this is it. So the AstraZeneca, the reason they would be on the Pfizer is because I would imagine they're under 40.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason they're on the Pfizer, is because they know that the AstraZeneca is likely, is more likely to cause blood clots in people under 40.
Yeah.
So they go, okay, if you're under 40, we're going to give you Pfizer. If you're over 40, we'll give you AstraZeneca. That balances, that's the risk sort of balanced out. Like they know, the science told them that this would happen. Like when they discovered that, they went, oh shit, okay, we'll start offering Pfizer more to younger people then.
And the problem is that the media made a massive deal of the fact that this vaccine has been like concocted within a year where it normally takes 5, and they were really like hammering the point that like the vaccine is kind of been rushed through, and it's like, of course it's been rushed through. It's a fucking new disease that's killing hundreds of thousands of people a day across the planet.
But the differentiation they didn't make is the vaccine wasn't developed faster at all. The red tape was cut faster. Like it was pushed through the red tape. It wasn't pushed through the development process, the research and development process.
Yeah.
Like they carried those out as they normally would. It was the red tape part of it that was rushed.
And like, it sped the process up by removing the layers of bureaucracy from it. Yeah. And you know, maybe something has been rushed and maybe there'll be, you know, side effects. Maybe we're the dickheads, like you say, but I don't think we are.
No. And if we are, you know,
you know, we're in the massive majority, and then the anti-vaxxers will inherit the earth, I guess.
Fucking terrifying thought. But no, it's again, we need to sort of toe that line. Is like we're doing what we believe is right, and like I've said to this guy that is the anti-vax, like, or he doesn't believe in this vaccine. He's not an anti-vaxxer. He's just anti-COVID vaccine. He's doing what he believes is right. All this propaganda, and you know, we're putting out propaganda which is pro-vaccine. He's putting out propaganda which is anti-vaccine. All this propaganda that he's sharing is because he's trying to protect his family and friends. You know, he's doing what he believes is right. It's just bizarre. Like some of the stuff he's posting, I've done that. I've asked him that question. Why? What do you think is happening? Why do you think they're doing this? And it's all about control and stuff like that. I'm like, so all these countries that, you know, can't sort out trade deals, can't blow their noses without the right tissues, that sort of stuff. You believe they're all teaming up to control us? Yeah. And he's like, Google and Microsoft and all this lot are censoring it. So you think these competitors, Google and Microsoft and whatever, are teaming up to censor stuff so they can control us why is it that they can't get along normally, but they're all teaming up over this?
Yeah.
And if they are teaming up over this, what for? What is the end result that they're trying to achieve? I said, what is the more likely scenario? I said to him, what's the more likely scenario? That this is all happening, this big complicated process is happening, or there's a pandemic?
Yeah, chaos.
Like, what is... but, again, it's that thing. It's like the stuff I've looked at supports what I'm thinking, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, well, logic dictates that this is it. And the stuff he's looking at is like, well, supports his theory. Like you say, it's the confirmation bias. A lot of the stuff he said to me is like, don't you think it's too much of a coincidence? And I'm like, yeah, it does look like a coincidence.
If you're looking for a coincidence, which is how conspiracy theories...
Yeah. And I think what I've said to him, and I've said to somebody else as well, is like, he said, well, like his granddad had the vaccine, and I think he said had a heart attack like a month later or something like that, which take out the fact that time scale, something that happened a month ago is that connected to something that happened a month later? Like, how can you say he had the vaccine a month ago, he had a heart attack a month later? Yeah. They can't be connected, but I can see that if you don't trust the vaccine, then yeah, you're going to see that would be the cause. But I said, but you know, I don't eat Brussels sprouts. The first time I did, I stubbed my toe. That doesn't mean eating the Brussels sprout caused me to stub my toe. Yeah. You know, it's two things that happened concurrently, but that doesn't mean they're connected.
But equally, there'll be a coroner's report into...
his granddad's fine. Like, he didn't die.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't... Yeah, he didn't die. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have used that example on here because
Right,
that seemed really insensitive. But I can see I didn't make it clear. But
they would have, they do tests as to why these things happen, so they would have that information.
Yeah, and part of me wants to go, okay, so you said your granddad, so it's likely that he is an older gentleman.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual for an older gentleman to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Or to have underlying health conditions.
Does he smoke? Does he drink?
This is it.
Yeah.
So, I understand his point of view. It's like, oh, he had the vaccine and then he had a heart attack. Well, and it's sort of, but my nan was perfectly healthy and independent and walked around, and then all of a sudden she collapsed, like not from COVID vaccine, but all of a sudden she collapsed and was paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, and she was perfectly healthy the day before, and the next day she's paralyzed, quadriplegic, like completely paralyzed from the neck down. Like, it doesn't mean something she did like a month before.
Is that because she had a fry up?
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's a healthy person can, again, not to go into fucking Kevin Smith because he bangs on about it all the time. He was up and living and healthy. Well. He was up and living and didn't seem to have any issues, and then all of a sudden had a heart attack because there was a catalyst, something. That's it. He hit a point of no return and caused him to have a heart attack. That shit happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just boggles the mind, doesn't it? It's the whole most haunted thing, isn't it? It's like, there was a bang upstairs. It must have been a ghost. Like, there's no other explanation.
Yeah, it can't possibly be anything else.
Yeah. It's that, again, it's that confirmation bias. They're looking for evidence of ghosts. They find evidence of ghosts.
Yeah.
It's that thing, we don't believe in ghosts, but when we go around Pluckley on a ghost hunt and we hear a weird noise, our brain goes, ghost. Because that's what we're there for. Exactly. Even though I don't believe in ghosts. Yeah. They still scare me.
Still freak you out.
Yeah, I still believe it's a ghost because it's what I'm looking for. Besides, anyway.
I don't know.
But hey, COVID's not the worst thing that's happening in the world. Well, the
thing is, right, yes, exactly. This is why part of me is in favour of COVID passports. Because I'm like, I know that you shouldn't be forced to have a thing that you're skeptical about. Yeah. And I do agree in a way, but it depends on your argument. Like, there are people that literally can't have the vaccine because of some autoimmune issue that they've got, and what have you. So, but then, I don't know,
to be fair, they're the people that I really, really feel sorry for, and they're the people that I continue to wear my mask for. Definitely. Because me having the vaccine doesn't protect them from COVID. I can still carry COVID. I can still pass it on to these people that can't have the vaccine.
This is the other thing.
I feel really fucking sorry for them and scared for those people.
But this is the other thing that I think the ignorance issue is causing is like, oh, well, I've been double jabbed. Let's hug.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, yeah, you're more protected now and you probably won't die, but you can still contract it and it will still affect you in some way. Like, people need to see it like the flu jab, but it affects everyone, not just the over 50s.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. Is it 50s or 60s that you start getting the jab? I can't remember.
50s or 60s or asthma. Like, I'm eligible for it, but sure. I've never needed it because my asthma is really mild. But I'm not going to take it from someone else that needs it more than me.
Exactly. But that's the way people are having, like, should be looking at it now. But it's almost like, and the government hasn't done any kind of messaging to disquiet that kind of point of view, because they have always wanted herd immunity. They have always wanted people to carry back on cause the economy.
Yeah.
And they're having their cake and eating it now.
Yeah, I don't feel that people. I still don't understand how people don't get that the mask is mainly to protect others.
Yeah, I know.
Again, it's that I've been double jabbed. I don't have to wear a mask anymore. And it's up. But those people who can't get jabbed at all need you to wear your mask where you can, because they're not protected at all. and they're being allowed to go out. They're being told to go out and do shopping and go out for dinner and stuff, and all their friends are doing it. I'm not for mandatory vaccinations at all. I don't think it should be mandatory. You can't force someone to have it. I am for COVID passports, which again, like this guy that I talk about, he's like, well, it's wrong that they're forcing people to have the jab. I'm like, they're not forcing people to have the jab. Yeah, but if I want to travel, then I have to have the jab. I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get arrested, you will wear clothes when you walk down the street. No one's forcing you to wear the clothes.
Yeah.
But you know that if you don't wear those clothes, you might get arrested.
Go certain places.
Yeah. And I did say to him that's probably an extreme example because that is a law. But
sure, but if you're in the Middle East somewhere, and you're a woman,
yes,
you cover your head.
Yeah. Knowing that if you don't cover your head,
it's possible that you will be arrested.
Yeah. You know that if you want to travel to like the Amazon, you need to have all these extra vaccines. Otherwise, you can't go. Otherwise, you can't go to the Amazon. But if you want to go to the Amazon, you will take those.
But not
jabs.
Even the Amazon. Like going to Thailand and stuff. Don't you need malaria jabs to go there? So these are popular holiday destinations, and you need a vaccine to go there.
Yeah.
Because if you go there and you don't have it, you could contract malaria and die. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's like if you want to go to Thailand, you must take the COVID shot.
It's a good argument. I wish I'd thought of before.
You could go to Thailand and contract COVID and die. Except that if you go anywhere in the world, you could contract COVID and die. Like, this isn't a generalized thing like malaria is. This is a worldwide thing.
It's not localized.
If you're going somewhere, you have to take it.
If you want
because again, it's those countries' ways of protecting their own citizens.
Yes.
Like, that's what the COVID passport's for.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
Again, this whole fucking thing is like, it's not about you. Stop making it about you. It's about everyone else.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think that's a really fucking good argument that I need to remember.
Yeah, I just came up with it on the spot. That was like,
but yeah, it's
not something I'd even thought about before, but it's exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah. If you want to go to Thailand, you will take that vaccine. If you don't take that vaccine, you're not going to Thailand.
Yeah, my heart rate's gone up.
Yeah, I noticed. But yeah, it's...
I can't stand fucking stupid, selfish people.
But yeah, it's this argument for him, like, is he thinks that because you have to have a COVID passport to travel, you have to be vaccinated to travel, that makes it mandatory. So no, it's not mandatory. You don't have to travel. Therefore, you don't have to take the vaccine.
Traveling is a luxury, not a right.
Exactly. And, Chloe didn't have the vaccine. She hasn't had the vaccine, but she could go to Spain because she provided a negative test. Yeah. You don't have to have the vaccine to travel.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
Like, it's like at the minute, eventually it probably will be you can't travel unless you've had the vaccine. It's...
Well, this is one of the things.
Ironically, the fact that Australia and New Zealand handled this crisis so well in the first place has actually been their downfall in the long run.
Yeah.
Because now their citizens don't trust. They feel like, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault either. It's like they feel like, well, we were fine before, so why is it all of a sudden an issue? It's like, because, like I said to this guy a couple of months ago, as soon as your borders open up again, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden...
But also, like, the fact of the matter is they haven't got much in the way of vaccines out there. And their policy... No, but their policy has always been, there are cases that city shuts down. There are cases that state shuts down. And so, because they have done that, that's why they haven't needed the vaccines.
Yeah.
And like you say, now the borders are going to open back up. There are going to be people coming in from all over the world, bringing it with them, even if they are vaccinated. And so what do you do then? Do you live constantly locking down the country of Australia? Like, it's not sustainable. Something has to give.
Yeah, and that's it. So yeah, like I say, because they handled it so well, it's actually their downfall in the long run, because now their citizens don't trust the vaccine. They don't feel like they need the vaccine because we've been fine so far. So because you locked down, so you haven't needed it. So it's really, really, if the whole world had done what Australia and New Zealand did, we'd be fine. There'd be no need for the vaccine because they didn't have cases for how long? And if they had
a long time,
and when they had one lockdown,
there were cases, there were moments in 2020. I seem to remember where music festivals were going ahead. Yeah, in 2020.
yeah.
So
it's really, really odd that and I suppose because we all didn't handle it, we fucked them over. But
yeah. Well,
it's
it's been a clusterfuck of a few years, and I think there's this weird kind of mixture of anxiety and excitement to get back out there again, because I'm a social person. I like doing these things, like being at a gig, actually interacting with strangers, people I'd never seen before, who were like vibing on the music and like enjoyed the performance that we gave and were talking to us and stuff like that. It's like, that's a thing that I'd forgotten that I really enjoy. Is kind of chatting to people, and everyone's enthusiastic and having a good time.
And that's what we found on holiday. I know we've been to gigs and I've been to shows and gigs, and that's different, but actually on holiday it's chatting to other people that are on holiday as well. It was very, very, it's quite freeing in a way. Yeah. No, I don't know if I want to, because I've got this clip that I want to play, but I feel like we've already sort of gone on enough of a rant.
Well, I mean, COVID isn't the only thing that the Western world has fucked up in the last year, is it? I mean, quite recently, events in Afghanistan have been a complete clusterfuck as well.
Ironically, again, it's an ironic situation where it's like, for years and years and years, people are like, we need to pull the troops out of Afghanistan, and we've been like, no, we can't. No, we need to pull them out. And I'm like, actually, get them out. Why are they still over there? We need to get them out. Pull them out. We're like, oh.
Because the Taliban aren't gone.
But at the same time,
they're still pretty fucking like solid. At
the same time, has the fact that we've been out there so long given them time to build up and build up and build up? Like, we don't
Quite
know.
Possibly, but isn't it fucking ironic that the world's largest military force, namely America, with the world's largest intelligence organization, the CIA, as well as MI5 and MI6 and the British Army and various other coalition armies as well, have been out there for 20 years building up local police forces, installing democratic systems of government, training Afghan troops at the cost of billions and billions of dollars, pounds, whatever you want. And within 2 weeks, they've taken a stranglehold of the country and are in power again. It's just like, now we're here now, fuck you all.
It's how quick that's happened.
What happened to the Afghan army that we were training up with our specialist troops and like giving them and also all those weapons, all those high-tech Western weapons that we sent out there, now in the hands of the Taliban again.
Laughing at.
No, it's just
laughing at how fucking mad
ridiculous.
It is.
And they must have known that there was a massive presence, because.
And they have something to support that is the fact that Biden was like, oh, there's probably going to be an attack at the airport tomorrow. And there was.
Yeah.
Oh, there's probably going to be another attack on the airport, and there probably will be. And it's like, if you know that, you know that. How the fuck did you not know they were there?
It's unreal.
For all this time. It's.
And it just shows
part of you also goes, okay, so there's been relative peace in Afghanistan with us over there. It's been quite peaceful. We've been training lots of people with lots of weapons. And then the conspiracy theorist in me comes out, like, so where are all those troops that you gave all those weapons to? Why didn't they fight back? And it's kind of like, well, maybe those troops you've been training, you were training to do this takeover, so you can actually go in there again. Because we will be going in there again. Because there was an attack on the airport which killed British and American diplomats. That is now a declaration of war.
It's
so
The thing is, Afghanistan's a prickly one because there has always been conflict there, like time immemorial. Go back to the days of the Bible, there was conflict in that area of the world. Obviously, you know, more recent times it was the Taliban versus the Russians, because the Russians wanted to move in when it was when they were the Soviet Union, trying to pile in there and take Afghanistan for themselves. So, you know, us and the Americans armed the Taliban to fight this war against the Russians because we didn't want to actively take part in a real war during the Cold War, which was a standoff. So we kind of funneled weapons in.
We created the Taliban.
Yeah. You know, it's all there. And yeah, it's just history repeats.
It's like giving a kid a crayon so he can draw, and he ends up drawing over the wall, and you're like, no, we didn't give it to you for that.
Exactly. But, you know, that's what they're going to do. I don't know where I come
up with these fucking things.
You know, a decade of podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked. Like, the images coming out of there as well, like, are just heartbreaking.
It's just lucky that we've got, like, sensitive politicians in the UK who are sensitive to this situation, isn't it? Does that sound like a bit of a lead up to something? Does it? Sorry.
Oh, man.
Let me grab my shoehorn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this.
I don't think I have, from what you were explaining to me before we went.
Oh, God. Right. You can see this, yes?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Let me just whack this up. Listen to Mr. fucking Boris Johnson, and then off screen is Mr. Dominic Raab. They're in the crisis centre.
Right.
Let me just check volume, see if this is okay. Is that good? How fucking insensitive is that? Did you hear?
Didn't quite catch what he said.
So Boris Johnson was
Are you the guys who are getting like loads of emails about people wanting to leave Afghanistan?
Yeah. Like, but it's the way I've had a few of those.
But
it's the way he asks. It's like, are you the people that have been barraged with emails? And that's how I hear it. Like, I'm sure that's not how he meant it, but it's just this lack of sensitivity, isn't it? Are you these people? Like, these people desperate. They're desperate for help, and he's like, are you the people who have been inundated with all these emails and calls from around the world saying, please help my son, my daughter? It's disgusting.
It's the Raab thing, because he's not on camera, so I couldn't quite hear what he said.
Right, I don't know if I can turn it up anymore, but
that's all right. Do
we know if the crowd has thinned out yet because of the terrorist attack? And then I thought it was extraordinary they all stayed.
I think it's desperation that caused them to stay. Like, it's desperation to get the fuck out. Like,
it's just the nonchalant sort of, like, it's the flippancy with which they ask the questions. There doesn't seem to be any level of sympathizing.
No, like, I get the impression that you and I would use superlatives like those heartbreaking emails from people who, you know, and try and show.
It's more of a case of like, how have you managed to sort of stay on top of these emails, stuff like that? Not are you the guys that have been inundated with emails? Like, I know it's such.
I think as well, right? The last couple to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, we do need it. Like, I get.
You know that I'm no fan of the Tousled-head twat,
yes,
and any of his acolytes. there is a way of public address which the royal family and politicians use so as to not show emotion and to be slightly impartial, because they have to try to give a public face that is impartial. This is not the time to be using that public face. No. But as well, they're in a crisis center, so I would imagine everyone in there is quite. They're trained to be quite neutral anyway,
level-headed,
and so like that is the general ambience, and maybe they've been spoken to before that camera went live. And that's the vibe of the place. Equally, the last year and a half, I wouldn't want to be fucking running the country this last year and a half. No matter, like, there's that whole, would Corbyn have done any better? No, absolutely not. He'd have fucked up as well. As many, whoever was in charge would have fucked up grossly at least 5 times. They've done it a lot more. But there's also, I suppose, a little bit of fucking fatigue. I would be fucking,
for sure.
I would be like, the bags under my eyes would be down to my chin. And I'm not being sympathetic to Boris because he doesn't deserve it.
No.
Because he has no feelings.
It's I do get that as well. Like you say, because they're in a call center where these people are dealing with these emails and these phone calls, they have to remain flat. So the last thing I suppose you want to do is introduce an element of emotion there.
Yeah.
But because like we watch those ambulance shows, Liz, like where they're in the 111 call center or 999 call center, sorry, and those people have to stay. You can't inject emotion in there.
Well, our friend Kezi works in there, doesn't she? Or has
and
done.
The phone calls they get, and they have to remain calm and not show any emotion.
Yeah.
But it's just like, are you the guys who are receiving all of these emails due to us pulling our troops out?
That's not what he said.
But it is. But there probably is that element of walking in there going, "Oh, sorry guys, we fucked up."
And maybe there's a bit of that going on inside his head as well.
But you know what?
And not quite knowing how to phrase it as well, because again, these people are not like us. They are not. They have not been brought up to be sympathetic to people. I mean, he was part of the fucking Bullingdon Club, which I would round up every fucking one of them and castrate them with a spoon. Because they're cunts. Like, their initiation ceremony is burning £50 notes in the face of a tramp.
Yes.
And then they just they go into restaurants and they tear the places to pieces.
So part of their initiation ceremony is to commit treason.
Yeah. But then they chuck money at the waiting staff to be like, well, this will cover it, like whatever we've done, despite the fact that it's a very traumatic thing to have, you know, to have to sit through these fucking entitled cunts.
Yes.
Ripping apart your place of work, chucking plates and glasses and shit around, just making fucking mayhem for no other reason that they can, because they're fucking untouchable and it pisses me off. They're cunts, all of them. However...
Yes.
That is why they have no empathy. And it's kind of not their fault, because they're just born into these fucking elitist families.
Oh, for sure.
And they are so far removed from people.
There is that element of nature versus nurture, isn't there? It's...
They could try a lot fucking harder.
It's Boris's comment is insensitive, but it's what you expect from Boris. But Dominic Raab, it's like, have the crowd thinned out since the attack at the airport?
That was a bit fucking weird. Like,
I think it's extraordinary they stayed. No, I think it's fucking horrific that they stayed because they need to. Because they're
think
that
of the
desperate.
Reason why they are staying. I think
it's extraordinary they stayed. No, it's fucking sad. It's heartbreaking. That they had to stay because they've got no other option.
I thought that's what I heard him say the first time round,
but you didn't
I needed
want to believe
to
it.
listen. Yeah, I needed to hear it again because I wasn't 100% sure that. And also using the term "thinned out" after a bombing as well, like poor choice of words.
That is definitely like I mean, it depends what you mean by it, Dominic.
But equally, like, I know that I've been in situations where I've said something appalling or insensitive because I don't know, I haven't thought about what I'm saying in the moment.
You haven't thought about the
other
alternative meaning. Yeah.
So, like, you know, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of another. Like, I'm not making excuses for them, but at the same time, they're so far removed from normal life.
Yeah.
And they kind of have to see things from a top-down view, or else you would go fucking insane. I think.
I suppose
if you had any kind of fucking morals or empathy for humankind, you would go mental in the jobs that they do.
I feel like, I feel like you have to have that disconnect, because if you didn't have that disconnect, you're like it's in Boris's position with all this COVID stuff and then this Afghanistan thing. It's like the choices that him and his cabinet made
have
led to so many deaths in the last 2 years. So if you try and keep that element of personal responsibility, you will go mad. Like you need that disconnect from I had to make this choice for what I thought was good. I can't think about the thousands upon thousands of deaths. It's
and
like
you kind of hope he can't sleep because of the fucking guilt. You hope. That he can't
but at the same time,
sleep.
in doing that job, like you say, you have to have that disconnect, so it probably doesn't affect his sleep where it should. But it's
well, again, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for these assholes, but
no, not at all. But
think,
if you think about like American politicians and even English prime ministers, like if you think about them when they enter office, or when the prime minister and the president, when they come into office to 4 years later when they leave office, if you look at the difference in their age, like you saw Obama just went grey and haggard. I mean, he got older, so it does. But to that extent, you think of like Tony Blair. If you think about all of those people, how much they aged over those years, Boris hasn't changed.
No, but that's because he looked at
haggard
death's door anyway.
I don't think he's changed.
But no, you're right. It's
I don't think
bizarre.
he's changed to the extent all the other.
He should have
did.
all his fucking hair should have fallen out. Like
bearing in mind what he's had to deal with, you know, you'd think he'd look like the fucking crypt keeper.
I mean, Theresa May would have looked like Mr. Burns by the end if she was still there.
She kind of did anyway, just with more hair.
But it's a tough job. I wouldn't want to do it, but at the same time, like
I could have done it better.
I feel like I probably could. I'd have done it more empathetically, that's for sure. I'd have had.
Hey, everyone's pretty much forgotten about Brexit, so.
Yeah, except for the fact that the shelves are now all fucking empty in the supermarkets because there aren't enough lorry drivers, and the ones there are have all got COVID, or they can't get through the passport checks, or whatever the fuck it is.
Supply chains are completely broken down.
Yeah.
When I looked at it, because I put out a Facebook post about it, and I wanted to check my facts before I put it out, and I was like, sort of like looking up what has caused it and the supply chain shit and all of that, and. The supply, and I found articles from like 2, 3, 4 years ago that said supply chains are going to be affected. Like stuff's going to start becoming. You can't even get a milkshake in McDonald's at the minute. Yeah,
this shouldn't be a surprise to people because it's been being reported on for years, but no one wants to think about it because fuck that, it's down the road.
But the fact that this supply chain issue and what's going on has now affected Greggs. I find so ironic. There's nothing more British and working class council estate than a Greggs sausage roll. I love them. I live on a council estate. I'm working.
I prefer Greggs to McDonald's. Let's put it that way. Like,
but it's the fact that I don't know if Greggs is even English company, but I look at Greggs and I'm like, that is council estate, fine dining. And the fact that the supply chain shit has now affected Greg's is just like, it's
It was the fact that like the news virtually
I love
led
Greg's,
with.
by the way, to put that out there. If you
it's
want
the fact that the national news led with McDonald's is out of milkshake rather than supply chains are fucked.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, this is what the plebs are gonna like. This is what's gonna hit the normal person. It's like you can't get a milkshake in McDonald's at the moment, and that is because of blah 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 and blah. But like the headline is always like
McDonald's milkshakes,
and you're like, that's not the problem. The problem is all the other shit that has caused the fact that there is no milkshake in McDonald's.
But in the same way that this guy put out the whole life insurance, why is this?
Yeah.
And I went, it's because more people are dying. And one of his friends went, it's because the vaccine is now being made mandatory, so more people are going to die. Like they twisted it to their agenda.
Yeah.
You know this is going to be, look, fucking EU stopping our lorries coming over.
Yep.
Fucking we were right to get out of the EU. And it's like, no, you're looking at it from the wrong way.
Like, you know, we're coming into a season now where all our local produce has stopped growing. And so we need imports from other parts of the world, the EU.
They won't sell to us. Fucking EU. We were right to leave.
You can think that, but the fact of the matter is we still need bananas. Like people like bananas, right? So you've got to get them from places elsewhere. Yeah, you know, you want fresh satsumas or I don't know, sweet corn that is kind of coming into crop now, but in the middle of winter you're still going to want sweet corn. So where are we getting that from? Somewhere that's sunny in the winter, like. But because of Brexit, we haven't been able to make trade deals with people who grow this stuff. You fucking idiots!
Right. It's just the way they can twist it. The most obvious answer isn't the one we'll go for. We'll fucking make it really complicated and say that's what's going on. They don't look at the fact that 2 years ago or 3 years ago we had sweet corn in the winter, and now we don't.
And that's a miracle.
And the difference is, 3 years ago we were part of the EU. Now we're not. 3 years ago they were happy to send it to us. Now they're not, or they can't send it to us.
No, they can't because we haven't been able to sign.
They're not blocking
deals,
it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're blocking it because we haven't made a deal. We don't have.
Yeah. It's and you know, and part of that is because COVID has happened and other things have had to be put on priority rather than I know trade deals are a priority and need to be also sorted out, but I'm sure the focus has been massively off that in the last year and a half.
But it's the sort of balance. What's worse? Pandemic, famine.
Yeah. Well, look, we're just going to have to go back to eating potatoes because that's what grows here.
Yes.
And
stop taking the piss out of Irish people and using that against them.
And, you know, if you're a vegetarian, you might have to come back to eating meat for a while because you won't get your avocados. Or whatever the fuck.
Think about the hipsters, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Their avocado and toast.
The world's fucked. This country's fucked.
And the world's probably going to do all right without us.
Yeah.
This has been a ranty one, hasn't it?
But I enjoy a good rant. That's the thing. Like,
we need to get it off our chest.
As much as I get worked up, I quite enjoy getting worked up and being this character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wish I didn't have to. But then if it wasn't about this, it'd be about something else. So.
Yeah. I don't even know what else is going on. I mean, yeah, Afghanistan, fucking no milkshakes at McDonald's and COVID. That's the world at the minute.
Yeah.
And the Paralympics, which I haven't actually been watching though. Actually,
I've watched bits and bobs, but the coverage has been so spotty. Like, even though it's on all night, you watch it and they show like the whole of a qualifying heat, and then halfway through it they cut to a final, but like it's the last 100 meters of a 5,000 meter race, or like the last 2 laps of a
you can't watch a whole event.
But I want to watch the whole of the finals, please.
Yeah.
And not the heats. I don't know. Like the coverage isn't as good on Channel 4 as it is on the BBC.
To be fair, I say I haven't been watching it. I was on holiday, and I haven't been home to watch it.
You've got excuses.
Yeah. I'll tell you what has been quite nice, though, is the fact that we flew back in on Tuesday, and I'm not back into work until Tuesday. So like I've had a week at home because it's Liz's birthday. I took the rest of the week off, and then obviously it's bank holiday, so not back in until Tuesday. So yeah, it's been quite nice. Like not to, I hate when you go on holiday, you come home and the next day you're in the office. I hate that. This has been really nice, just to chill out and or not, but have a bit of normalcy. But we've got
being able to sleep in after all the other things you've been doing. yeah. It
took me a couple of days to catch up because. Again, early flight, so woke up sort of 8 o'clock on the Monday morning, Spain time, so 7 o'clock this time. Coach picked us up around about 4 o'clock Tuesday morning. So it was like, tried to have a nap, couldn't really. So from 8 o'clock Monday morning, got home, had been awake well over 24 hours, didn't actually sleep until the afternoon because of unpacking stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
And fixing a washing machine again. So yeah, I had maybe 36 hours maybe where I didn't sleep, and then I went to bed that night, and then still woke up at sort of normal time. But then the following day I didn't get out of bed till 11. Like I was just like, no, can't do it. Yeah, so it took me a long while to catch up, and I think I'm about caught up with my sleep now. Because we're doing other stuff as well, so it's been fucking. Because then we went to London. Like I woke up at 11, but then we went to London, so I didn't get home until sort of midnight.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway.
In the life, like I say.
I can't do it. I'm an introvert, man. I can't do it. It's not right.
No, I've been going. Yeah.
Should we carry this on and after the podcast, which we haven't done in a while?
Yeah, we should probably do an after the podcast, shouldn't we, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also because, where do you go from the world is fucked?
Maybe it'll be happier. Maybe. Sign up to our Patreon and find out.
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm sure it's been entertaining.
For sure.
And, so join us on Patreon for the rest of the conversation. And if not, see you in a couple of weeks. I've been Tom.
I've been Ant.
Bye.